Welcome everyone to the D-Pad. I am your host Adam, and first off, I'd like to thank our guest speakers for joining us this evening. Say hello, boys.
Hello, boys.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm fabulous, thank you.
I'm eating cake right now.
Man, I wish I had some cake. Tonight we're going to be talking about one of, if not the biggest MMORPG in the world, World of Warcraft. More specifically, the new expansion called Legion. Also, we're going to be getting into the new expansion for Hearthstone. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay,
We'll be
cool.
Talking about the new Hearthstone expansion got announced earlier this week, so it should be a lot of fun.
Cool. All right. So, for those of you who don't know what World of Warcraft is, have you been living under a rock since 2004? WoW is a massive multiplayer online role-playing game created in 2004 by Blizzard Entertainment. It is the fourth released game set in fantasy Warcraft universe, which was first introduced by Warcraft Orcs and Humans in 1994. Since then, there's been 5 fully released expansions to the World of Warcraft series, and soon follow a 6th one named Legion, which is to be released at some point in mid-2016. Is that correct?
Yep.
Cool.
Hopefully it'll be around summertime. I think it's projected at some point to be before September, I believe, is the projected time, but we don't have like a specific date yet.
Okay, so we're looking at like somewhere at the end of summer, early fall kind of thing?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I hope it'd be maybe somewhere near the start of summer. I want to have it sooner than later. But I mean,
Right, yeah. Okay, cool. Well, first question I have for you guys is, can you please tell me a very short, kind of summarized version of what is the storyline in the Warcraft universe? I have a feeling that this is going to take a little longer than I thought.
no,
I was like, Cameron's your man. Go for it.
well, the thing is that like you can't like it's like basically asking like
It's
in
like
essence,
asking
it's
him
like,
to
what?
summarize like the encyclopedia.
Right? It's like
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like
then
almost
just-
asking, like, how did we get here?
Just kind
Like-
of give me like in a couple words
I guess
what each expansion pack was about.
okay, so World of Warcraft started off with it's referred to as vanilla, but it's just commonly known as World of Warcraft. But the terminology is vanilla. It's basically the stock game that came out in 2004, and it was basically Horde and Alliance, two factions. I mean, they just oppose each other, but at the same time, players from each faction come together to fight various bosses and various raids, and also engage in PvP. But like you had enemies such as Ragnaros, the Fire Lord within Molten Core. You dealt with Nefarian, who was a dragon enemy in his lair. You dealt with another dragon named Onyxia. The two biggest bosses, aside from Rag, that happened in Vanilla were Kel'Thuzad for Naxxramas and Cthulhu for the runes or the Temple of the Encourage. And that's actually something that will come back up again when we talk about Hearthstone, for Cthulhu anyways. And same thing happened with Naxxramas for Hearthstone. Naxxramas was an expansion set for Hearthstone. So those were the biggest bosses back then. But then you got to the next expansion release, Burning Crusade, that involved Kel'Thuzad, Illidan, who's basically oh gosh, is it Malfurion, Harrison? Who's the biggest known druid? I can't remember his name.
I believe it might be a Malfurion. I think it is.
I might be entirely wrong, but he's basically the brother of the biggest or the most known druid in the game or the storyline. Went corrupt, and he actually has a story progression or arc between another character known as Arthas or the Lich King. He also fought killed Jaden as well, and there's a lot. I mean, all these bosses and characters have their own sub stories that go so deep, it's absurd. Unfortunately, it's like aside from naming off like specific villains that you fight and come together to fight, it's really hard to like do an overview because everything has its own sub story that goes so far. And then like in Wrath of the Lich King, stop me, Adam, if I get going too far.
Oh no, I'm actually really happy that this is a good talking point for you because I'm excited to get this out there.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt real quick, but it is Malfurion, confirmed.
Okay, that's what I thought. I wanted to make sure. I didn't want to like embarrass myself like that. Lich King or Wrath of the Lich King was the the next expansion that offered obviously the final boss was Arthas or the Lich King, and Icecrown Citadel was the final raid. One of my favorite raids to date. We also fought within Ulduar. Yeah, Ulduar. Fought within Ulduar Yogg-Saron, who was another old god who was corrupted and imprisoned within there. A lot of things you'll see, or like very common theme you'll see, is old gods and titans mentioned. And basically, titans are like basically the creators of the Warcraft universe, and old gods were basically a series of corrupt beings that went from planet to planet, destroying and harvesting the planets. And they landed with, or like inhabited Azeroth, and the Titans were basically like the ones who were going to dispose of them and get rid of them off of Azeroth. The problem is that once they've inhabited Azeroth, they can't be well. They can be killed, but if they kill a old god, they actually destroy the world. So all these old gods are actually imprisoned within the world and being basically kept in their cages until they either break out or they're kept there as long as they can. So that's a common theme that that you should know and that you'll be seeing for a while.
Okay.
But Yogg-Saron was another old god as well. See, what else did we fight in Lich King? Onyxia came back. We had another deal at Naxxramas, because Naxxramas originally back in vanilla was a 40-man raid, back when 40-man raids were the shiz. But when the Burning Crusade came out, they changed the raid structure from 40-man down to 25, and they restructured Naxxramas as a 25-man raid for Wrath of the Lich King, and it was almost all the bosses and everything were the exact same thing, except everything was just basically retuned, because the crazy thing about Naxxramas back in the day was it was actually a raid that was considered so hard, only 1% of the player base ever saw the raid. Not 1% beat it, no, 1% saw the raid.
Wow.
Within live servers. It was nuts. After Wrath of the Lich King came Cataclysm. Cataclysm had some highs and a lot of lows.
Okay.
Very bad time for the game. One of the finer raids it had was Firelands, and in there we saw the return of Ragnaros, the Fire Lord, within his Fire Realm. Fantastic raid. Another raid we saw was, I believe we fought Cho'Gall as well. We fought them in the Bastion of Twilight. And I know, like, the thing is to remember as well is that, like, as I'm listing off stuff, I am forgetting smaller subsequent raids and stuff, and the reason being is because I never raided back then. I started back in Wrath of the Lich King, and I know I missed a couple within. I missed Karazhan and what's that? Orcs. There's another villain in Burning Crusade I forgot about. I cannot remember his name. No, it was like an orc guy. It wasn't Cho'Gall. It was something else. I can't remember. He was the first. He was the second boss in Blackrock Foundry, or the first boss.
Garrosh?
No. Oh shoot! I cannot remember his name. All right, whatever. We also fought. Cataclysm was the time when Deathwing emerged from his prison, because he used to work alongside I guess the people of Azeroth. I don't know what, I can't remember what it's called. But he became corrupt as well, and he basically didn't destroy Azeroth, but he definitely reshaped it. And it actually had a giant effect on the game. That was one of the higher points. But the raid we fought, Deathwing is, in my opinion, the worst raid of all time. It was absolutely horrendous. Okay. We saw Nefarian again. We saw Onyxia again, just in a little bit. So Cataclysm had a lot of ups and downs. A lot. Mr. Pandaria was the next expansion. Mr. Pandaria had a very, very strong Asian theme going with it. I refer to it as the Kung Fu Panda expansion. And it was very interesting. I didn't really prefer it. The only raid that I can take note of, I know that there's Throne of Thunder and there's I think there's 4 or 5 raids in Mists of Pandaria, but the only one I ever took part in was Siege of Orgrimmar, where Garrosh Hellscream was the leader of the faction of the Horde, and through the corrupt mind again of the old gods at some point, I don't know the exact story of how the corruption began there, sieged fortressed himself within Orgrimmar and showcased a vision of him invading Stormwind and basically trying to destroy the Alliance. So we sieged Orgrimmar, stopped Garrosh, and moved on. Then the last expansion the current live expansion was Warlords of Draenor, where Medivh had taken us back to Draenor to basically stop the Burning Legion from pushing through the Dark Portal and destroying the world. Where we fought Blackhand, we fought Imperator Margok, if I remember his name. Those were the first 2 raids, and then we ended with oh gosh, what's the boss name? Oh shoot. Why do I forget this name already? I've done this boss. Hold on, I actually have to really look this up. It's going to drive me nuts. Hellfire Citadel. Fought in Hellfire Citadel. Oh gosh, what's his name? Archimon. That's who it is. Fought Archimon there.
Cool.
Yeah, and then the next expansion will be coming out is going to be Legion. We're going to be fighting Gul'dan finally, who is basically the one of the most notorious and treacherous warlocks.
Okay. So that kind of actually like leads into my next question, which was, what do we have to expect in this new expansion?
What are you looking forward to, Harrison? Like, with what we have to expect, Harrison? Like, what's something you would say that you expect and that you look forward to? I hope you don't mind me diverting it to Harrison, Adam.
No, yeah. I want both of the inputs here.
Well, I don't know. I'm kind of excited to just be playing again. I didn't play that much during Warlords at all. I played like the first raid and then maybe like a percentage into like the second maybe. But I'm excited to like be back and just like playing again. It's pretty fun. I don't know. I'm excited about it. I want to try Demon Hunter a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Demon Hunter. Harrison hit on the head by saying that Demon Hunter is the next class that's being released for the game. We've had multiple classes released throughout the game's lifespan, but Demon Hunter is going to be the next class, and it's going to be very interesting because we're going to be following a storyline alongside Illidan, who's basically been, in essence, awoken from his prison after defeating him. Not entirely sure how that's going to work out. I haven't looked into a ton of stuff. It's going to be a very story-driven expansion for sure. I mean, we've got Demon Hunters coming in. We've got overhauls on a lot of classes for all their specs. We have 9 dungeons already announced and 2 raids already announced, one of which I'm really looking forward to. We're going to invade Suramar's palace and dive into the Emerald Nightmare, which in lore is basically the Emerald Dream is the counterpart of it. And the Emerald Dream is basically the perfect Azeroth, and the Emerald Nightmare is just basically the destroyed Azeroth that the Legion and the old gods sought to bring upon the world.
Okay. So there's what I'm hearing is that there's a lot of actually really cool stuff that we're going to be getting in this new expansion.
Oh yeah, hands
okay.
down.
So my next question is kind of just a fun question. If you had to pick a favorite race and class, which would it be?
Harrison?
Well, class, it's easy for me, so it's Paladin, so that narrows it down quite a bit. It's human or blood elf, I guess, or a paladin, or dwarves now, I believe, can be a paladin, am I right?
I think they can.
Maybe?
They might. I don't remember. It was so long since I played the Alliance.
I don't know. Probably, I do like Night Elf Druids a lot.
Night Elf Druids are really cool.
Okay.
But probably Blood Elf Paladin, I think, is really tight.
Okay, what about you, Cameron?
Aside from dwarves as well, my favorite race is orcs. Dwarves will hold dear to me. I'll hold dear to me for as long as I play this game. It was my first race. But orcs are really good as well. Favorite class is definitely a hunter. Hunter is my favorite class, hands down, to start playing in this last expansion, and I cannot wait for all the changes they're going to bring to the hunter.
Okay. My final question coming up at the end of like the WoW section of this is going to be, what is your favorite thing to do in game and why?
For
time lost.
What, time lost?
Yeah.
You know why they call it the time lost? Because of all the time you lost trying to farm it. If you don't understand what he meant, time lost is a mount within World of Warcraft. It was a mount that came out in Wrath of the Lich King. Basically, within the zone known as Storm Peaks, which is the northern end of Northrend, there is a NPC that will spawn, referred to as the Time Lost Proto-Drake. If you kill said Drake, you will get said mount. It's the exact model of the NPC. The problem is that there is a 8-hour window of spawn rate.
Wow.
And so that's crazy enough. The other problem is once that window is over and something spawns, it's like a 1 in 5 chance it's not going to be the Drake. It's going to be something else. I cannot remember the other NPC, but it's another Drake, but it's not one you want. Viragosa, thank you. So, there are constantly people just sitting at the spawn points of Time Lost Proto-Drake in the Storm Peaks every single day, all day.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
And I have farmed it, and I will never, and I want that mount dearly, but I can't get it.
Okay. So then, so Harrison is sitting here telling us that his favorite thing to do is sit there and farm for mounts that are highly unlikely.
Pretty much.
No, I'm the same way. Like, for me, aside from raiding is just a blast to me.
Okay.
Mount farming is, that's my addiction, man. Some people have drugs. For me, it's mount farming. I think I hit 242 mounts today too, Adam.
Wow.
I'm 8 away from my Fellfire Hawk, which is just a green corrupted hawk. It'll look so awesome, but you have to have 250 mounts to get it.
That's pretty cool.
And I just can't wait to rub it in the face of some of my friends. 'Cause, I mean, I have some incredibly rare mounts that I've been fortunate enough to get.
That's awesome. Okay, so now that we spoke about we've spoken about WoW and the future of that, let's talk a little bit about another branch of the Blizzard company, Hearthstone. So what is Hearthstone? Because I've never really even played the game. I've probably seen like clips of it on YouTube, but I don't really know much about it.
Okay, Hearthstone. So Hearthstone is another game that's developed by Blizzard Entertainment. It's a free-to-play game entirely, no cost at all. You can invest money into it, but it's a card game. Within the card game, you are given 9 classes to choose from: mage, shaman, priest, etc., and you craft decks based around that class. And each class has different abilities that help you in the game in various ways. Example, there is an ability that warlocks have. They only have one ability for each class, by the way. Warlocks have the ability of life tap, where they will spend basically 2 mana of like their mana tap, and they will draw a card, but at the same time they'll also take 2 damage. All hero powers cost 2 mana. Warriors will armor up 1 point. Mages can fire a fireball that deals 1 damage. Hunters shoot an arrow at the enemy hero that deals 2 damage. So everything's a little bit different. It's a lot of fun. So
some of these stack too.
Yeah, definitely. Some of them stack. It's a very fun game. It's an easier version of Magic the Gathering it's a lesser degree of like learning how to play a card game, but it can get very, very difficult.
Okay. And then you mentioned that there was a new expansion for Hearthstone. What is that? Tell me about that.
The new expansion coming out is it got announced earlier last week. It's referred to, or it's going to be called Whispers of the Old Gods. There's been multiple expansions for Hearthstone, and basically it's just for some of them, like Naxxramas and Blackrock Mountain, and like what's the last one that's called? Live Explorers. A lot of cards are added to the card sets that are going to be put into play that you can buy. I mean, you can unwrap or craft yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it also has like a solo adventure, so when you're not playing against somebody, you're actually playing against bosses that will enable you to unlock various cards. So it's a lot of fun. It's really cool for the old gods, just because we're actually going to be seeing other, like the old gods come into the card base of the game. Like I said, Cthulhu was one of the first bosses, or like one of the harder bosses of World of Warcraft in the early days, and we're getting him as a card. And there's going to be a lot more old gods, but I think 150 cards are being added to Hearthstone. And
it's an insane amount of cards.
It's an insane amount of cards. And another cool thing they're doing for this expansion that they're implementing is standard play for ranked play. And Standard play is really cool because basically standard play is you
I
have
can
a
explain
range.
that if you want.
Huh?
I can explain that
Go
if
for
you
it.
want. Okay, so sorry, 1 second. I'm killing a mob. I'm leveling at the same time. Okay, so basically, in Magic the Gathering, since Hearthstone is now played worldwide, it's a global esport. There's every major tournament, Intel Extreme Masters, BlizzCon, all these big name tournaments. I think maybe even MLG, plus on top of their own Hearthstone tournaments. Anyway, so Standard is a thing where it's almost a system in a card game where you can control the chaos almost. So basically, let's say with all these different expansions coming out, you know how like different card games will then have different expansion packs, different series, all that other good stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, since there's so many expansions and so many extra cards being added on, they don't want just anybody in competitive play to then forge a deck out of like, let's say all these like, 4 or 5 series there is, and just basically nitpick the certain cards that they want, essentially the more powerful cards out of each of the decks, or like the best strategy that revolves around those cards to be used. So Standard is a thing where basically I believe it was done by Magic the Gathering first. I'm not quite sure, but that's where I learned it from. Standard is a thing where in Magic the Gathering, they have 6 expansions. The oldest 2 eventually get cycled out for the new 2. So there's 6 expansions that are currently modern and called Standard. So any of those cards and any of those expansions is tournament legal.
Okay.
So basically, every 3-4 months, they release expansions pretty often, but basically the new 2 cycle out the old 2 essentially, and then there's always kind of an in between.
Gotcha.
Set.
Okay. So then, speaking of like decks, like what is the best ideal deck?
Okay. So I can touch on that a little bit, and then Cameron can revolve back into that. I believe I've watched a lot of competitive play. Like Cameron likes playing a lot and like laddering and stuff like that, and he's started going into more of like the deck building and shit. Oh, sorry. So basically, what was I gonna say? I totally lost my train of thought. Okay, so there's different types of decks. There's if you want to play more of like a rushy type strategy, it all basically revolves around your strategy and how you want to approach the match. Each match of Hearthstone is relatively short, so let's say it's an average of maybe 7 minutes.
Okay.
And then it can range past that depending on situations in the game and other stuff like that.
Okay.
So, there's different types of decks. So there's like an aggro deck, which would be sort of like a rushy, like, all right, I don't care what kind of minions you're going to be putting onto the field. I'm not going to be attacking them. I'm just going to completely go over them and attack your hero.
It's basically like, I'm going to kill you as fast as I can in as few of turns as I can.
The problem with this strategy is that there's not that much sustainability. Though you might have a lot of early cards that are very powerful and can like just gun down your opponent really fast, it's not going to have that much sustainability. So, and you'll understand that in a second as I go more into the decks. So there's kind of like in-betweens in these decks too. So basically the other more commonly referred to deck is called Control. So Control basically means that you want to control what is happening in the game. So say Cameron plays an aggressive deck like that, and I wanted to play more of a controlled deck. Then I would essentially start trying to form my strategy around what Cameron's doing, figure out what he's doing. I have answers basically to everything Cameron's throwing at me. I play defensive if I need to, and aggressive when I need to, you know?
Okay.
So, but there's also kind of an in-between where you can get kind of more like a more defensive control deck and just like play for like super supreme late game where you get like a bunch of mana, you get these big creatures, you buff them up, and eventually you end up just rolling in.
Gotcha. Okay.
versus like if Cameron played an aggro deck, then I would do really good versus that than being in a defensive stance or defensively aware, I guess. It's a lot of game sense and knowing when like what kind of almost like reading what kind of deck you're playing against and then going from there. Versus if I'm just playing like an aggro deck, then I just want to kill you as fast as humanly possible.
Okay.
The thing to remember amongst all this too is that you're never going to pull the same cards, or like it's very hard to pull the ideal cards off the gate because it's always random. It's just like anytime you play a game of cards, it's always shuffled, so you never know. You're never going to know what you're going to get and when you're going to get it. So you could have like an aggro deck that is, you have a game that's so ideal with it. Like I've had games where by turn 5 I won the game. But I've also had games where turn 10, I'm still halfway through his health and I can't get him down. With the same deck, it's really tough.
So it's a lot of just kind of strategy around what's given to you.
It's a lot of strategy around what's given to you, what your opponent plays, how to counter it, and understanding this guy's playing this kind of. I'm guessing this guy's playing this kind of deck. I have ideas about it, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if he has this card available. Like, there's one card mages have. It's called Polymorph. It's a 4 mana cost card that will turn any minion from, like, whatever it is into a 1/1 sheep. So I could have a minion, like a legendary card that has 7 attack and 5 defense. But if my mage counterpart drops a Polymorph on it, it goes to a 1/1 down. So
Okay.
It's useless to me.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. Have you heard of the 110 challenge?
Nope.
What's that?
I want to say I was talking to Shannon about it, and she was telling me that it's like some challenge where you have to get like 12 games in a row. You have to win 12 games in a row or something like that.
Hearthstone 110 challenge?
Yeah.
I've never heard of it for Hearthstone. The only thing I can think of that would be for the arena. An arena is basically a style of play that you pay into. You could pay like $1.50 to pay into, or you could use in-game currency of gold to get into. And when you get in there, 3 classes are offered to you. You have to choose one of the classes, and then as you choose a class, let's say I choose a hunter. It's going to let me craft a deck, but the thing is I can't go through my library and build a deck based off my cards. It's going to give me, like, for card 1, I have 3 options. I have to choose one of them. Then it'll toss me 3 more options for card 2, all the way through 30 cards.
Okay.
Yeah, 30 cards.
So apparently from what I'm reading in the 110 challenge, it's saying that basically in 10 arena runs, you try and get 100 wins, which in itself it's
crazy.
pretty easy. Like basically you go for as long as you can. Someone like in this little picture says that his first 110 challenge, I'm assuming this is a Hearthstone pro because he's verified on Twitter and everything, was 69. Yeah. So, and then challenged other people to do it. So it's not exactly something that's easy, even for Hearthstone pros who know like really well of like the crafting of the game, like theory crafting, to where like they know what's good against what and are super common with all the cards and know all their abilities.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like if I walked into it and did it, I'd probably get like 3.
No, yeah, like I think the furthest I ever did, I think I did 2 wins in an arena run, and if you lose 3 times, it's over.
Gotcha. Okay.
But the further you get, the more you upgrade your key, basically, to unlocking more stuff. So you'll get more gold, more mana, or more decks that you can unwrap, and get more cards out of. So it's tough.
Okay.
I stay away from the arena because I'm not good enough for it.
All right. And my last question for you guys today is, what is your least favorite deck to play against?
Secret Paladin. So Secret Paladin is just such an annoying deck because, well, it's one of the most annoying decks. I mean, I can't think of any other specific decks off the top of my head besides like Murloc, Warlocks. Just, Secret Paladins are just absurd because they have, they have to have like at least half a dozen secrets available to them. and you can always put 2 cards of any capacity in your deck. So they could drop, in essence, basically almost half their deck be secrets. And they're always stupid stuff like the moment somebody attacks your hero, they now attack a 2/1 defender as a new target. Or if they attack this, then they deal 2 damage board wide kind of deal. It's like stupid stuff. Murloc Warlock decks are absurdly stupid too, because Murlocs can be really cheap cards, and there's so many of them that they can buff each other, and they always have what's referred to, or a lot of times have what's referred to as charge, where they can be attacked the moment they're put on the board. So you'll have it to where, like in turn 3, you'll have 4 Murlocs on the board that have like 3 attacks, so you're down to like 12. They're dealing 12 damage right off the gate. It's really stupid.
Okay. What about you, Harrison?
I don't like playing against. Probably, I would have to say mage decks. It's so annoying to me because I like to be the kind of player where I try and be more the control person. If I don't like, I have a couple decks you can have in a range of I think it's 9 decks of your own that you have custom.
18 now.
18, okay.
Yeah, they doubled it.
That's crazy. So basically, I have a couple decks. Some of them are control. Then I have like 1 good rush deck. And you can go on like icyveins.com and start like crafting. There's a crafting area of the game, but essentially you have to break down cards and get mana dust and make that mana dust into the cards you do want. So it turns out to be a lot, yeah. So one time I wanted to make this thing called a Murloc Warlock deck, which is like, it's an aggro deck with a bunch of Murlocs and you're a Warlock.
It's my deck I hate.
Yeah. So I wanted to make that, but I figured out it was going to cost me like, I think it was like $28 or something like that to make. I was like, are you serious? So like I basically had to either break down the cards that I already used to do it, and then be a one-trick pony, or basically then just buy a bunch of packs and hope I get the right cards, and if not, then I can just grind them down into dust and then rebuild the cards. Or jeez.
In the game, you can buy packs either with cash money or with gold that you earn within the game. You can break them down into mana dust, which can be used to craft other cards. But of course, the more rare the card, the more expensive it is. Like I think a legendary costs like 1,600 mana dust to craft, and most cards can be decrafted down to like 20.
Wow.
So you have to really deconstruct high-end cards to get a lot of mana dust.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that was my last question for you guys. So I believe that concludes our podcast for today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
And thank you everyone so much for tuning in and listening to us. If you have a topic that is game related or a game that you'd like us to talk about on here on the show, please feel free to comment below and tweet at the Twitter handle at the D-Pad using the hashtag DPadPodcast. All right. Thank you, and may your D-Pads be swift.